Good morning, afternoon, everyone, depending on when you're tuning in to this video. It's me, Ryan, Keg Slayers, your reigning champion. Just always have to point that out. I'll be hosting this draft analysis video here today. We kicked Ben out for a couple of videos here. And I have my very good friend Karl with me.
How's it going, Ryan?
Oh, it's going fantastic. Got a day off, get to talk fantasy football. Nice, cool basement that I'm sitting in, temperature-wise, not just the setup that I got behind me, but it's hot as hell out, and I get to sit in a nice, cool basement. So I'm enjoying that.
Perfect.
How are things out in Cheyenne?
Oh, pretty good. Pretty good. I have a day off here myself as well. Had surgery the middle of last week, so I'm just kind of laying low and recovering. Yeah, likewise, get to sit here and talk some football, coming from the basement as well.
Nice.
And really looking forward. We got actual football worth watching coming already on this Thursday night.
Thursday night football.
And then the NFL kicks off the following Thursday. So
right,
it's going to be a good season. Let's have some fun.
Yes, and that Thursday football that we're referring to, for those of you that don't follow college football, you got Colorado Buffaloes going up against our NDSU Bison.
That's right.
Are you going to the game perchance?
I am not. I'd thought about it, decided against it. Don't really want to hassle with the mess of Boulder, Colorado, and however many billions of people are going to be there for this one. So I expect it's going to be a bit of a madhouse.
Right.
Because, we know Bison fans travel well for one thing, but it's also the official kickoff to the college season. And finally, last, certainly not least, probably the biggest factor here is the utter annoyance that is Deion Sanders.
Right.
Yeah, I expect it to be a bit of a shit show. So I'm gonna lay low, hide out in Cheyenne, and watch it from here.
Good call. Good call. Yeah, it's. I'm not going to be able to make it to that game as well. I had a few people ask me if I was going to go. I really wanted to, but just doesn't work out in the budget and in the timing of things. But we'll definitely be watching the game here from home. And
that was the other thing. Like I looked at tickets a couple weeks back, and the cheapest ones were like $180.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, I don't think I'm going to do that.
Yeah.
So,
no.
But we'll watch it from home, and hopefully the Bison can play well and have a good showing against them, and maybe smack Shedeur Sanders around a little bit.
That's always a good thing. I like to see the Bison on this big national stage, and we've had some very good turnouts in recent past that the Bison have taken down some big names that people thought we shouldn't. So I kind of hope that can happen again.
I'm hoping.
Yeah.
Should be a fun game regardless.
It should be. Well, let's get moving on to our draft analysis. Today, we're going to be doing two separate videos. We're going to be taking a look at Joe's team, the Blue Star Magic, that one-star rating that he gives himself every year by putting that 1 star up there. And then we'll also be taking a look in another video at Ben's team, the Wake Forest Vultures. But we're going to take a look here, starting with Joe's team. And I've got the draft board there on the shared screen so that we can see kind of where we were going. We're going to do that love and loathe segment that has been working well over the last few videos. And Karl, why don't you start us off with Joe's team about what you love and what you loathe?
Well, I might just kind of mix both of them into one pick, actually.
Okay.
And I'm going to go ahead and pick on his very first pick, Patrick Mahomes. Obviously, best quarterback in the league, all but a lock to be like a top 5 fantasy QB just about every year, right? So, like, obviously, good quarterback for his team. That said, I just don't like the pick that early. I
I
don't think we
agree.
need to do it that soon. And spoiler alert, we're going to talk a little bit later on about the other quarterback on his team and how it just he's got good quarterbacks, but it wasn't good team building. I feel was not a fan of that.
Right. Right. Yeah. I mean, obviously, somebody's going to take Patrick Mahomes in the first round. Joe happened to be the one this time. Again, I don't like it because I think you're missing out on a lot of other guys, and you can get a very serviceable quarterback a lot later in the draft. So I agree.
I will real briefly say Alvin Kamara. Don't necessarily hate the value. It's probably pretty close to where he belongs. Feel like maybe he could have gone a little later, but mostly I'm just not a big fan of the guy at this point just because of his age.
Yeah, he's at the back end of his career.
Yeah, and especially in the style of league that we're running, there's not really any upside there, but it's not necessarily a bad pick.
Right.
Let's talk about the next one just real briefly here before we move on to the middle rounds, though, because I think we have different feelings here. I like the David Njoku pick.
But is that just because you're a Browns fan?
It's probably at least a factor.
Okay.
I think I've got a little more. I don't think it's just pure homer. Like I think I've got a little more appreciation for him as a player than people who don't actually watch him. So I do think that is a factor. I feel like while I could definitely see an argument being made that that was a little soon for him. At the same time, I look at where he went relative to other tight ends. He went after Mark Andrews. He went right before George Kittle. Like, to me, that feels like about the right place for him to go. He was I believe, fourth tight end off the board. I want to say Laporta went between Kelsey and Andrews.
I think it was third. If we're looking at the snake correctly, Mark Andrews would have come right before the Njoku pick.
Right, but I thought Laporta came in between Kelsey and.
Oh, there's Laporta. Oh, that's right. Kelsey went in the second. So you're right. He was the fourth.
So fourth tight end off the board. After if those are Andrews and Kelsey, obviously go before him. I think Laporta is a fairly obvious one to go before him as well. Beyond that, the next group of guys, I think he's right in there, and I like the upside. Whereas I don't feel Kittle's got much upside at this point. Njoku, I think, still does. So I personally liked it, or thought it was a good pick. But that's probably also partly because I was thinking about taking him with my next pick.
Okay. See, and that's where I disagree with you just slightly. I think he could have waited a couple more rounds and still gotten Njoku, and I would have liked the pick a little bit better had he taken him, say, in the 5th or 6th round. I think he still could have been there at that point, and he could have taken somebody, a little bit differently. Maybe taken that Devon Achane to give somebody with a little bit more splash and a little bit more. I guess splash is the best that I can do it. I mean, to me, Njoku is just not a flashy player. He's gonna give you good production. I don't know that I would give him, top 4 round draft capital personally.
Fair enough.
The rest of his 1 through 6, just fine. Nothing too weird about that. Going into rounds 7 through 12, we're going to touch quickly just on the fact that his defensive picks were just fine where they were. CJ Mosley, Patrick Queen, and Trayvon Diggs, all solid defensive players. I do want to mention that the 12th round pick of Trayvon Diggs was actually a surprise to me, only in the fact that was the first Dallas player that Joe selected in this draft. He waited a whole 11 previous rounds to not take a Dallas player.
Showed some remarkable restraint there. We're proud of you. Proud of you, Joe.
Very, very, very well done. However, going back to a few rounds previously, I think both Karl, you and I agree that Marvin Mims pick there in the 8th round is somewhat of a head scratcher.
A little bit. Mostly just here again, feels like it probably could have waited a couple of rounds. I don't think it's a bad pick per se. I feel like there were some better options out there, or better ways you could have built the team, and probably still got Mims 3 rounds later.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I think the same can be said with Calvin Ridley. Again, it's an okay pick, but he's not gonna, I don't think he's gonna do anything spectacular for you where you
Right.
took him.
There's definitely in both cases, there's definitely some questions relating to the offense in general that they're playing with. Ridley in Tennessee and Mims in Denver, playing with, Levi's in Tennessee and playing with rookie Bo Nix in Denver. It's Bo Nix, who played college football for, I believe, about 19 years.
It was pretty close.
So,
Pretty
the
close.
dude's got to be pushing retirement age already. He was in college forever.
Yes.
I think there's at least 3 teams that he spent at least 2 years on.
I was going to say it had to have been 3 or 4 teams that he had been with in his college career.
So, but so anyway, about those guys, both of them, we feel like could have been a little bit later, but not necessarily bad picks per se, just maybe not great value.
Right. Absolutely. Absolutely. Anything else that we feel like we need to highlight in these middle rounds?
Just real briefly, I'll say I think Zach Moss was a good pick. Good pick there. Looking like the starter. Starting running back in the 7th round is never a bad thing. So
yeah, that's really great value. Really great value there.
Yep.
All right, let's take a look at the back half of the draft. I will just read off briefly what he drafted. So 13th round, Dak Prescott. Then he took DeMarcus Lawrence, Sauce Gardner, Deron Bland, Ezekiel Elliott, Jalen Ramsey, Brandon Cooks, Darren Waller, Rico Dowell, Jeremy Chin, Sam Williams, and they finished off with Cavante Turpin. This is where we see Joe's true colors shining. He had one Dallas player on his team going into the 13th round, and I think he picks up 6 more in rounds 13 through 24.
It's got to be close to that.
And let's you mentioned the spoiler about his quarterback room there on his team. Yep. So why don't you mention what you were spoiling?
Well, simply put, Dak Prescott's a good quarterback. He's a good fantasy quarterback. But I just can't get on board with what is essentially wasting a 13th round pick on a guy who's going to play 1 week. You got Patrick Mahomes. You don't need Dak Prescott. You certainly don't take him that early. You want a backup quarterback. You take Caleb Williams that went the pick before. Someone like that, a rookie who's got some upside who can grow into it. That'd be a good pick there. Alternatively, wait and take a second quarterback late in the draft. Or, crazy thought, because now looking at his roster, he's actually now carrying 3 quarterbacks because he picked up Aaron Rodgers off the waivers. So you could have just skipped the Dak Prescott pick entirely, come out of the draft with 1 quarterback, and picked up Aaron Rodgers off waivers anyway.
Yes, and he wouldn't have had to pick up quarterback off waivers until maybe 2 weeks before Patrick Mahomes' bye week. And fill the bench spot for those 2 weeks. And as soon as Patrick Mahomes is back off bye, you drop that quarterback.
So anyway. I just, from a team building standpoint, I did not like the Dak Prescott pick at all.
Absolutely.
I thought it was a poor use of assets.
Yes. Going on the flip side
poor use of assets, carrying 3 quarterbacks is a terrible use of assets.
Absolutely.
Joe, you need to drop a quarterback or trade one, whatever, but you got to get down to 2.
Yes.
Don't waste space with a 3rd.
I did like his Ezekiel Elliott pick there in the 17th round. Yes, it's a Dallas player, so another hometown player for him. But, Ezekiel Elliott, I think, still has some juice left in his tank. Taking what could be a, 6-7 week starter at points this season, taking a guy like that in the 17th round is very, very worthwhile. Very good pick there.
Right. Well, and actually, I really like combining Zeke with Rico Dowdle.
Sure.
Because that's basically the top 2 running backs for Dallas. And you got them both in round 17 and later. I
Yep.
forget what round exactly Dowdle was in, but it's
20-something.
late. So I thought those were good picks. The other one that I'll mention that I liked was Jeremy Chin. Guy's played like a top tier defensive back in the past. I don't see any reason I feel like he could get back there. I don't know for sure if he will, but I feel like he can. I think it's an excellent gamble with the 22nd rounder.
Absolutely. Great pick in the 22nd round. However, Jeremy Chin is already off his roster.
Well, that's right. We discovered that, didn't we? Yeah,
We did.
well,
So
I still like the pick.
I like the pick, but again, it's that roster management.
Did he turn into Aaron Rodgers? Is that what happened?
Maybe. I guess I don't remember what exactly the swap was for, but yeah, Jeremy Chin, very good, solid defensive back. Taking him in the 22nd round to already not be on your team to see what he could have given you this year, especially since he's got Bland that is on IR right now for him. Yeah, yep. Dallas's cornerback Bland, he's got sitting at IR. So, that Jeremy Chin pick could have very well been a better stash for him had he actually kept him.
Yep.
So overall, Joe, you have good pieces. You have the start of a very good team. But I don't think you executed it as well as you could have, especially taking way too many Dallas players yet again. We'll leave where exactly Joe falls in the rankings in his fancy PowerPoint presentation that he's been showing off. But I think both Karl and I can agree that it's going to be in that back portion of the rankings.
Yep, I think so. But this is an excellent opportunity to remind again that the draft is an important piece, but it's also only one piece. Management of the roster after the draft is hugely important.
Absolutely.
You can salvage draft mistakes, or you can make things even worse. So,
yeah, you don't want to compound those mistakes with more mistakes.
Right.
Like picking up Aaron Rodgers when you already have Mahomes and Prescott.
And Dak Prescott. What's Aaron Rodgers doing on that roster at this point?
I have no idea.
So,
well, that wraps up our video here for Joe. We'll be following this one up with part 2 of our video for Ben's team here in just a moment. So we'll say see ya for now, and we'll catch you in a little bit.
Bye, guys.